Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by ZipRecruiter, your one-stop solution for all your hiring needs. Post a job to 100 plus job sites with one click. Rank candidates, set up interviews, and onboard new employees. Visit ZipRecruiter.com/twist to sign up for a free trial. Are you a next-generation entrepreneur? Form an LLC, register your trademark, and protect your products with LegalZoom. Since they're not a law firm, you can get advice from LegalZoom's network of independent attorneys in most states. Get exclusive savings today by visiting LegalZoom.com and enter the promo code TWiST at checkout. Legal help is here.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of This Week in Startups. Today on the program, a duo of drone companies. Yes, we have Skycatch on the program and PixiePath. Skycatch is a large company. They launched at the Launch Festival a couple of years ago. They've raised tens of millions of dollars. Google Ventures, a bunch of important people are in that company. And what they do is they make a base station that then goes up, and at construction sites or new campuses that are being built, hint, hint, they go up and take these incredible aerial photos down to the detail so people can really understand what's going on at a location. It's a very large company now. They make their own drones. They make their own base stations. Really amazing company, and we get to go inside their headquarters. PixiePath is an emerging company, a new company in the drone space, and they are doing the ability to do public flights of drones and allow consumers to then control the cameras on them, or allow people to, say, inspect a bridge or railroad tracks and have the engineers in another location while the drones are flying with the drone operator and they control it. Of course, controlling drones remotely is against the FAA here in the United States, but in other countries it is allowed, and it will probably be allowed here under certain circumstances. Drones are taking over the world, and they're going to have massive applications, and the skies are not going to be empty for much longer. In the next 10 years, you're going to look up, and instead of seeing 2 or 3 airplanes in the sky at any given point in time, you're going to probably see 20 or 30 drones. It's a very interesting future, and we're getting on it early here at This Week in Startups. Stick with us.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Calacanis, and I am here with Christian Sanz, who is the founder and CEO of Skycatch. And Skycatch is, I think, the most advanced commercial business-to-business drone manufacturer. Why don't you tell everybody what you guys do?
That's correct. I think a short description of Skycatch could be we create actionable intelligence with drones.
Actionable intelligence with drones. And here's obviously a commercial drone. Different than the consumer drone, how?
It's built differently. It's far more reliable.
Okay.
A lot of the things that you do inside the control loop, we do a lot of redundancy. The process of actually testing is far more rigorous than the actual the consumer drones. We do a lot of testing. We do a lot of regression. We do a lot of testing inside the code itself.
Yeah. Now these drones take pictures like this one here of construction sites, or I think you've done mines.
That's right.
Now you had this idea a couple of years ago.
Yes.
To create these commercial ones that would be used on construction sites. Has that actually happened yet?
Yeah. So we talked about a year ago, and early on, about 2 years ago, I actually spent a lot of time on construction sites, just sitting there taking photos for them.
With a drone?
With a drone.
So you would come to the construction site, you'd fly the drone up, bring it back, and then hand them a video.
Hand them a video or a photo. It wasn't even a map.
Right.
It was a very straightforward map, and I was trying to find out if there's a business.
Right.
Am I going to create a business that actually has a demand for this imagery? So I spent a lot of time just going. I got kicked out from places. I went to the 49ers stadium when it was being built. I got kicked out of that one.
So you actually were flying missions over the 49ers stadium and then going to the 49ers and saying, hey, would you like to buy my company's product?
I would actually wear a hard hat and a vest and pretend I was one of the workers and just go right in and fly.
There's a hack. So by clients, you mean people that you were breaking and entering into their construction sites.
And we did that we've done that even recently, a couple months ago. Yeah.
Now, you fly in, and this isn't just a standard video. This to me is, very high resolution photos. What height would something like this be taken from?
This one right here, and all of our maps are taken from 400 feet. just about.
Right. Is there some reason for that number? Is that a magic number?
No, that's the what you're authorized to fly in. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So they may have gone over 400, but officially 400.
The buffer is 1,000. So.
Oh, okay.
So planes can't go below 1,000. So you still got a little buffer. Yeah.
Planes can't go below 1,000.
Yeah.
Drones can't go above 400.
That's correct.
So theoretically, if a plane makes a mistake and a drone makes a mistake, we still got 200 feet.
We still got a little buffer in there.
Got it.
That's exactly
and
right.
it's those recreational pilots who are in those little Pipers or Cessnas. Do they ever dip below 1,000 in your experience?
Especially when they go and approach a landing strip.
Right.
They tend to go deeper into.
Got it.
Too soon.
Too soon.
Yeah.
Now, when you take this picture, is this one picture or is this stitched together? And I just can't tell.
This is about 5,000 pictures.
What?
Yes.
So the drone is taking 5,000 pictures, and what, you use computer imaging software to stitch it together?
We have our own processing engine.
Own processing
We created
engine, okay.
a 3D model. You can see a 3D model of this. And
Oh,
then
right.
Yes, and then we created an ortho map.
What's an ortho map? What does
It's
it mean?
basically kind of like a 3D model, but turned into a flat image. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So what does this do? Because I'm just looking at the detail level here, and I didn't realize that these are huge trees, and that is one of those giant things that you see on that TV show where they cut logs down.
That's right.
What do they call that device? That's like a tree grabber.
It's like a bulldozer / something that carries all
These trees,
Yeah.
these trees have to be 30 feet tall.
At least they're massive. This is actually us flying.
Oh my goodness, right there, that little speck is
Yeah.
you flying. Now you have a base station that, and we're going to see that in a minute, automatically flies these missions
Right.
without you having to go there and putting a construction hard hat
That's
on.
exactly right. So early on, I realized that the amount of images people were requesting was too much. I was getting in the way, and I was gonna go out and hire people to help me collect more imagery.
Right.
So rather than doing that, I created this landing station, and I said, why don't I just have it charge itself, take off, so that way I can do more job sites. And I can do more. So instead of hiring more people, just hire more robots, just put more robots out there.
So basically, a robot base station can be put at this timber farm
Right.
or mill or whatever it is, and the person who owns it or the foreperson, the manager, can see exactly how many trees were added to a row, et cetera, and know if the people who are reporting information are reporting accurately.
That's right. What they're using it for is to get volume. This is how much they pay. Yeah.
Got it.
Based on the volume of the stock.
So if somebody were to tell them, like, hey, I put this much there,
Yes.
they could actually see if you run these 2 or 3 times a day, how long it took to stack them there.
That's
if there was
exactly
a
right.
robbery, they would actually see the robbery occur.
They know how much they're going to get paid, and based on the volume that's depleting, they know how much they need to pay contractors.
Got it.
Yeah.
So
To move it. Yeah.
on a construction site or a mine, how would they have done this kind of stuff before? Because you're
Very
coming to
manual.
them, these clients, have they ever even conceived of doing daily aerial photography like this?
No, so it's definitely an education process. A lot of these guys don't have, don't have the tools to actually do this kind of imagery, right? So
This must be the first time they've seen it since Google Maps.
Exactly. So some of them contract Cessna pilots or helicopters, and that's a lot of money. But because it's so expensive, you don't have the recurrency. You can't really use it as a tool.
Got it.
Right? But before that, you have these very expensive backpacks with GPS devices in it that cost $300,000 to actually get the volumetric measurements from these things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So just in the last year, you guys, I know you raised an A round of funding.
Yep.
The company has gotten a couple of dozen employees now.
That's correct.
And you're making your own
50
drones.
plus, yeah.
50 plus. So these drones, you're making them here now.
That's correct.
Why not use some of the commercial drones out there? What's missing from them?
We haven't seen, granted, there's a lot of great companies out there.
Sure.
We have great partners.
3DR and
3DR,
Phantom, DJI.
DJI.
Yeah.
They're great products.
Right.
We didn't see anyone making specifically commercial products. Products that you can say, if something fails, you can go in there and fix it right away.
Got it.
Most of the open source community, it's a little tricky because then you have multiple people putting stuff in it, and some of those things may not apply to you.
Got it.
And you don't want to have that stuff and be in the.
So you're writing the own code base for this as well?
We sort of reduced it to a very simple stack.
Got it.
That it's only for a quadcopter. Easier to manage.
Got it.
Easier. So we basically said we're going to own the problem.
Okay, let's go see the base station.
Let's do it.
Hey, everybody, your company is only as good as the people you hire, and that is obvious. We all know that. And posting jobs in one place won't find you quality candidates. No, you need a one-stop solution for your hiring needs. You need to post to 100 job sites with a single click and instantly be matched with candidates from 4 million resumes, and that is ZipRecruiter. It has been used by 400,000 businesses, and they rank the candidates, set up interviews, and they onboard your new employees with no placement fees. Pricing is based on how many jobs are posted by the hiring manager, and we've used it here at launch. And we just actually, with our first gig, we received 6 high-quality candidates in the first day for our designer. And ranking and managing candidates was painless and easy with their interface. It's a 4-day trial for you at ZipRecruiter.com/twist. So go to ZipRecruiter.com/twist and get a 4-day free trial. ZipRecruiter.com/twist, 4-day free trial. It is an amazing product, and like I said, we've had a great response from using it in the first with the first job. I mean, the first day we got 6 great candidates, so that was amazing. Thanks again to ZipRecruiter for sponsoring independent media like This Week in Startups, and go ahead and give it a shot. It's an amazing product that'll help you with all of your recruiting needs. Thanks again at ZipRecruiter. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/twist. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode. Christian Hassan, we're here at the base station, so this is what you would deploy at a construction site.
That's correct.
I'm hoping it would be enclosed, and so dirt wouldn't get in here.
That's right.
It is enclosed, so we're here in the lab. Now, a drone has landed in here.
That's right.
Now, how does the drone know to land exactly there? Because other drones use GPS,
Right.
and they would land within like 5-10 feet.
Right.
How does it know?
GPS is not very accurate, so we're
Right.
using optical technology to
It's
find
only
it.
within 5 feet.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So we have our own technology, using optics to guide itself back down
Got
to
it.
the
So you're
ground.
setting a little light up and saying, hey,
That's
land
exactly
here?
right. Yeah,
Just
you
like a
can just-
helicopter
that's right.
or plane.
That's right.
Okay, so it lands, and that's why the drone has this funnel on it, is so that it can land correctly.
Right.
Now, why does it need to land at the base station other than to have a place for it to live? What is the whole point of the base station?
The point of the base station is to swap out the battery with the data in it
Swap the battery out
and the data in it.
and the data.
Yeah, so we have about 30 gigs of data in the battery itself.
So the battery has
Yeah.
the data in it. Why is that important? I mean, I understand why batteries have to be swapped out. These things only last 15 minutes, right?
It makes the data available really quickly.
As
Then
opposed to doing wireless.
Exactly.
It's also simpler. So the base
Simpler.
station,
That's exactly right. So
You
in
know.
the ground station itself, then we start processing it,
got it.
compress it, and then we start sending the images out to the cloud.
Got it. So now, this looks like it's got 10 or a dozen battery slots. How many slots do you have for batteries?
I think there's 12. Yes.
12, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. How many flights could this run? Could it run continuously?
Continuously, nonstop. That's the whole idea. Is that you can go out and do many flights over and over again.
So by the time the 11th or 12th battery is recharged, it's coming back.
Right.
What realistically would you want to run a drone out? Because I'm assuming that
Yeah.
these motors and rotors are going to break and need to be maintained. What
These
would you?
motors, well, it depends on the brand that
Okay.
you use, right? So these motors can last. These motors and the drone itself can last you about a year and a half.
Year and a half
Yeah,
of
these-
constant use.
Constant use.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the skies are going to get a lot more populated.
Yes.
What about having 2 drones so you'd have complete coverage? Because this is going to take whatever 10 minutes to reload.
Right.
5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Could you have one take off and another one land, and then just have them constant rotation? Is that
That's
the future?
Right. Well, actually, we have clusters running. So
Ah.
clusters of 5 or 10.
Got it.
and
So
then-
you can pack these together.
Basically, yeah. So you can always have immediate visibility.
Wow. So how long before, let's say, I don't know, every building, commercial building, every Walmart in the country has these on the roof, and they're flying to make sure they know how many cars are parked in the lot for security reasons?
Yeah.
Is it going to come down to that level?
Well, I think that there's definitely going to be a thirst for that data.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that there's going to be different use cases that are going to cover that. We believe that the counting of cars can come from satellites or high altitude drones that are
Sure.
right around the corner. Some people are already building them.
What's a high altitude drone? What does it mean?
Flying 60,000 feet and above, using solar power and staying there, just taking photos of sending
So
data.
these are the fixed wing drones that we've seen,
Right.
but they have solar panels on them.
Right. So Facebook is building.
Gotcha.
Google's building one of them. And,
They're
yeah.
building those, though, for internet access, not for
Internet
spying on
access,
us.
exactly.
Well, at least that's what
Yeah.
they tell us.
Yeah, exactly.
But those things at 60,000 feet,
Yeah.
commercial airlines go up, what, 45,000 feet? 44?
Just about. You know, there's still...
Because my G650, I think we can go about
yeah, exactly.
45.
So 60,000 feet,
yeah.
you have spy planes. So you definitely have to have some kind of transponder to make sure that they don't collide with you.
So the spy planes are up there at 60,000.
Yeah.
And so Google and the spy planes and Facebook will be right up there.
That's right.
That's really encouraging.
So all spy planes have transponders so they can avoid each other.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So the spy planes are letting each other know where they are.
So that they're avoiding each other. Yeah.
They may want to have thought that through because you might be able to pick up on where the spy planes are by the transponders.
That's right.
I mean, I'm not a genius.
But you don't know which country is coming from, right?
Gotcha. So you're like, I know there's a spy plane somewhere over Taiwan.
That's right.
I wonder who it could be. Process of elimination.
Yes.
So let me ask you a question. I don't know if it's proprietary or not, but how many of these are out in the field? Are dozens of them or hundreds or just a couple of half dozen? Because you're a very young company.
Yeah, the advantage of having this machine is that you can have thousands of them.
Right.
Now, we slow down because we want to make it more modular so that's easy to manufacture.
Right.
But some of the contracts that we have lined up, they're asking us to deploy thousands of these things.
Thousands.
That's right.
So right now, when we look up at the sky in our average city or town, we don't see much. Once in a while, you see an airplane way up high, and sometimes you'll see a helicopter for an emergency.
Right.
What's it going to look like in 20 years? Are we going to be seeing these little things buzzing everywhere?
It's no different than the days when the car became popular.
Wow.
Right. People were annoyed with cars going around. They
Sure.
were terrified.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. We were just going to get used to it.
There's going to be that many in the sky.
Probably, yeah.
Now, what about safety? Because this is the thing that people all talk about. These things are going to fall on people's heads.
Yeah.
They're going to run into things.
Yeah.
You're on a construction site. It's private land.
Yeah.
What are the safety precautions that need to happen?
Well,
And
yeah.
what worries you too?
What's the advantage? That's the advantage of us working in job sites.
Yeah.
There's heavier and more dangerous things falling off the skies than the drones themselves.
Yes, you
right?
have like 100-foot cranes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it has been a lot easier in job sites for us
Right.
than it has been for consumer drones
Yeah.
in public areas. So we haven't had any issues when it comes to that.
Great. Now, what about safety in general of the drones themselves and the technology? Putting yours aside,
Yeah.
but as an industry,
Yeah.
I think as an industry, privacy and safety are the two biggest concerns people have.
Absolutely, yes.
It seems like when I looked at the DJI latest round, it was 2015 now, and also 3DR's latest crop, I've seen some of the early models, pretty hard to crash them.
Yes.
But they don't know their surroundings.
Right.
So when are they going to know their surroundings? Because right now, although you can't drop them out of the sky very easily, you could run them into a person.
That's true.
When are they going to have that figured out? And what
That's true.
needs to happen to not run into people, not run into buildings?
So let me tell you the technology that's becoming very difficult to build.
Okay.
Right, is sense and avoid.
Sense and avoid.
Sense and avoid. Some of the technology, some of the solutions require imagery. Image processing requires too much battery power, too much CPU cycles. So
I never thought of it that
Right.
way.
Yeah.
Because we have computer vision in other places.
There's a lot of solutions that you can put on a drone, but the battery will last like a minute.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it needs a GPU, a graphical processing unit,
Right.
a CPU that's just super high power?
That's just one camera. So you need to have cameras all around the drone.
Oh,
right?
totally makes sense.
Right.
This is why self-driving cars have an advantage.
Exactly.
They have a power source.
Big battery power. Exactly.
So when do you think we'll have that technology ready for them not
Companies-
to run into things?
Companies are working now in optimizing algorithms and image processing. It's going to be a while. You know, it's
5-10 years?
You know, maybe at least 4 or 5 years if some of the big players get involved. But the big players only get involved if there's massive purchase demand.
Right.
And we don't have that today. I mean,
Right.
with the commercial consumer drones, we do.
Right.
But how many of these guys are willing to pay extra for the sense and avoid technology?
No, everybody wants the drone to cost $500, and right now they're $1,500.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
adding the what did you call it?
Sense and avoid.
Sense and avoid is going to be a while. Can they also do it with like lasers and just, LiDAR kind of a thing?
You could, but you still have, the problem with trees, branches, and, cables and things
Wouldn't
like
be
that.
perfect.
It wouldn't be perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
So what NASA's doing today is creating a geofence.
Geofence
So
at
a
NASA.
global geofence so that you know what places to avoid.
Right.
Yeah.
So like the White House or other
Exactly,
places,
yeah.
kids' parks.
Right.
And so you have a lot of great clients using this kind of stuff, but
That's
can you
right.
talk about any of the clients who are using it?
Oh, yeah.
Or just
So-
in broad strokes? Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about DPRS.
What is DPRS? I don't know what that
It's
is.
a construction company.
The construction companies are
We
your
have
clients. Got it.
Komatsu, for instance.
Komatsu, the
We just
Japanese,
Japanese heavy machinery maker. They're 20 billion plus company. They compete with Caterpillar.
Got it.
They use it to automate dozers, which is unbelievable.
Automate dozers.
Yes.
Bulldozers.
Bulldozers, completely autonomous. Yes.
So they have autonomous bulldozers, and the drones are telling them what to do,
Basically,
or giving them a roadmap.
Giving a roadmap, eyes and ears, basically, and they use their own algorithms to go around and start moving dirt around.
Okay, so where is this all going to be in 10 years? Because obviously you guys now are going to be very successful. You have clients, you got revenue as an entrepreneur. Everybody thought you were a BS artist 2 years ago, let's be frank.
No, it's true.
You kind of got laughed out of VC's offices, right?
A lot of times, yeah.
Now, now you've raised money, they're kind of chasing you, I take it?
A lot of them, yeah.
It's pretty funny as an entrepreneur, right?
It's funny to see the two faces, yeah.
So are the same venture capitalists now coming back to you after they turned you down 2 years ago?
In fact, yes, they have. In fact, we're actually talking to one that potentially we'll be, doing a partnership.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what do you do? Just really stick it to them? Or do they come back and they're like, hey, we kind of were wrong? Do they say they were wrong? Or they say like, good job, you proved us wrong?
No, actually, we appreciate VCs who are very picky, and we learn from it. It's less about the VC. VC has tons of deal flows that has to go through.
Right.
We understand that, and
you just raise the price of the company.
That's just right. Yeah.
They just pay a bit higher price.
That's all. Yeah.
So this is for construction. Are these also going to play a role in security? I wonder.
I started in security with this, but it didn't really go very far. There's already a lot of solutions out there. Same with safety. We spend a lot of time, thinking about safety in construction and mining. A lot of people are already spending a lot of money and tools and solutions for that sort of thing.
Right. So there's plenty of security cameras you can get. Having the aerial photo maybe doesn't seem necessary. Okay, now let me ask you a last question. The military.
Yes.
My understanding is the military likes to control every aspect of the drone. They got these big ones that drop bombs.
Right.
They're not into quadcopters. Why? And when will they be into it?
They are actually. There are companies actually building quadcopters specifically for the military.
And how would the military use them? Would they use them in a combat situation?
They do. They do, because it's really hard to know what's a mile away from you. So having these guys go ahead of you and get a picture or get sound checks or get any of that stuff.
Wow, you can listen in on the enemy?
Oh yeah.
So I could fly it over a bunch of Al-Qaeda guys and hear what they're saying.
Yes.
Have Google Translate or Skype translate it for me in my headset.
Yeah.
You probably have to have a translator there, I think. You probably want to get that translation accurate. Yeah. But that's how war is going to occur.
Well, that's one example. Yeah. I think the way they're using it today is just to hear transportation, trucks, people moving, if there's anything that sounds like a human, because,
cracking the twig and the trucks driving through the woods.
Exactly.
You find them. And so the drones the Marines will have drones flying ahead of them as they take the beaches.
Yeah, I see that. Actually, I'm a big believer that military would make heavy usage of this drone, specifically for special forces units. So you'll have these guys sort of ahead of you to avoid ambushes.
Is the military a client of yours yet?
No, we steer away from it. No.
Because I'm looking. I can always tell.
you're
telling the truth. I can tell you're telling the truth.
I'm ex-military.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But
what were you in?
I was in the Navy.
You were in the Navy, okay.
Yeah. So
it makes sense that the Navy would have these too, right? To fly across the water and everything?
They actually have them already,
Quadcopters or like fixed-wing drones? We know they have
fixed-wing, and they also have quadcopters.
Got it. Because the quadcopters have that short range through the battery.
But the stuff stuff the military has is a lot more expensive, far more sophisticated.
Right.
But these are things that the regular market can't buy.
Right. Okay, now this sounds silly.
Yeah.
But I've been seeing, quadcopters now that are as big as our arms, right?
Right.
Not much bigger though.
Right.
Have you seen one bigger than that? My wingspan?
No, I've seen that big.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
And as a joke, sometimes they put a little man on the top.
Yes.
And they fly them around. It's kind of looks funny, they make a little speeder bike.
Like they're actually flying the thing.
Like they're actually flying the thing with a little Martian on there. But if they made it this big, I'm guessing it could be twice as big or 3 times as big.
That's right.
Are we going to be able to fly in those as humans at some point in our lifetime?
I like to think that we already do. We already do it to helicopters.
Helicopters, right.
Helicopters.
But helicopters are not autonomous.
It's true.
Yeah.
But
and they're not very stable.
That's true. but they have a lot of technology in it, and it has single failure point.
Well, this is harder to crash before.
Harder to crash.
Yeah.
The technology the software hasn't been harnessed to a point where it's ready for that kind of level of safety.
So let's assume the safety gets there in X number of years. Would the battery power and the size of these eventually be able to carry a human?
I think over time, yes.
Okay, so 20 years
It
from now?
comes down to money, right? Who's willing? If there's a buying power, these big companies will get involved and start building it.
Give me a decade, 2 decades?
Maybe a decade, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
We could be doing human trials on quadcopters in a decade.
Absolutely, yeah.
That to me is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Because then, like, if there's traffic on the Bay Bridge, I can just, zoop right across the Bay Bridge.
Well, I believe that we're going to evolve so much that we may not even have quadcopters. It'll be
6, 8?
Yeah, it'll be just like these things that fly around that uses energy and uses different types of technology, not really blowing air, but
What do you think then? What's the possibility?
There's the Hyperloop stuff.
Hyperloop from Elon Musk, sure.
All sorts of different types of technologies that will be a lot easier than blowing air, right?
All right. Thank you so much for showing us everything. It's incredible, and continued success.
Thanks,
Great
Jason.
job. Hey, everybody. Let me just take a moment to thank @LegalZoom for sponsoring independent media like This Week in Startups. If you're starting a company or you've got a great new product, you can launch it and you can dream and protect all your ideas with LegalZoom. You can incorporate, you can form an LLC, you can register your trademark, you can protect your products and services, you can apply for a patent, you can do trademark, copyright, and provisional patent applications. Now, it's not a law firm, but you can get personal advice from LegalZoom's network of independent attorneys in most states. It is a great way to get things done on the fly if you're a startup. And of course, Jill, the Comet Bork from RushTix, who is a launch incubator company, has been using LegalZoom for years for routine filings like trademarks and incorporations. And it's super inexpensive, and the flat rate is really easy on her budget. It's fast, and she can log in and see the status of her documents, and she knows she has a dedicated contact that's always available. It's really a smart choice for startups. So go ahead and enter the promo code TWiST for $10 off. LegalZoom.com and promo code TWiST in the revert box at checkout and get that $10 off. Welcome to the program at LegalZoom. Thanks for supporting independent media like This Week in Startups. And everybody go do your trademarks and protect your products and services, incorporate, apply for patents, copyright, provisional patents, all that great stuff at LegalZoom. And thank @LegalZoom on your Twitter handle. Use the promo code TWiST. Okay, let's get back to this amazing program. Okay, I just talked to Christian, who obviously is the CEO. Now we're going to talk to Fran, who is the engineer responsible for building the Skycatch unit. Let's go take a look. Okay, so I'm here with Fran Wang. You're an engineer.
Yes.
And you went to Dartmouth. Mm-hmm. And you came to work for this crazy drone company a year ago?
2 years ago, June of 2013.
And you built this.
Yes, I did.
So when Christian came to you and said, hey, we want to build this thing, what's the first step in building some crazy thing like this that doesn't exist in the world?
So we start with the CAD, the model, and
right.
actually look at everything in the computer. And so that's where we started. There was a model already there. We went through, found all the parts, checked to make sure the model worked out, and then got everything together and started building it.
So what is the most challenging part when you're given a project like this? What gave you the hardest time? Was it swapping the batteries or getting the drone to land exactly perfectly? What was the hardest part?
Well, the landing is really hard, but in terms of actually building this piece, it's really just making sure all those pieces fit together. So in here, there's, you saw earlier, there's so many things that are moving. To get all those things to move together and kind of a unified thing as a whole, nothing runs into each other, everything is timed right, that was really the hardest part.
How long does it take to take a crazy project like this that doesn't exist in the world and actually get it ready for the field? Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to actually make it work and that you felt confident as the engineer working on it, like, yeah, you can bring this to this construction site and I think it's going to work?
It takes a long time. So end to end, it takes a while. I think we really pushed for this one and we got it done in just a few months, which is pretty crazy.
Wow.
I think with like more cycles of iteration, it would take a year or so, if not more.
Oh, so at a startup, they gave you just 3 or 4 months to get this done.
Exactly.
It should have taken a year, but they gave you a reasonable 4 months to get it done.
Yes.
So where will this be in another 5 or 6 years? Is there going to be some major jump in the technology? What will this look like in 5 years?
Totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Tell me.
Already right now, this is only like less than a year old, and we're already working on the next version. So it already looks totally different. I don't even know what it'll look like.
Do you hate like looking at this like year-old thing and you're like, oh my God, this is terrible compared to what we're working on now?
It is terrible compared to what we're working on now, but it's also great because everything that we learned here has been so valuable for what we're building next.
So the next one will be smaller, cheaper, faster, better, what? What's going to be everything?
Yeah.
You seem pretty excited about the next one. Give us a preview.
Exciting.
What is the piece that you think is going to be is there a big game changer coming with the technology?
So the alignments that I was talking about, we're moving some of the complexity around. We're building a more extreme robotic arm to make something happen.
So the arm can do different things quicker and faster.
Exactly.
And this technology now is becoming very componentized. You don't have to build the actual components anymore. This is all from factories that were maybe building cars or stuff like that?
Well, these are all custom. So pretty much I would say like 80% of the parts here are custom. So when we first build something, everything's custom. We do it ourselves. When you only want one or two of something, it's easier to do it ourselves.
Got it.
So we fabricate everything minus a few electronics and stuff. And then from there out, once we like a design, once we're really set with it, then we'll send it out for somebody else to make in larger volumes.
And now you got these fancy 3D printers over here. What's the story with these?
So we prototype with these. So right now there's a few parts running in here. These are things that we only want one or two of. We're just testing some stuff out, and these are great. You can print a part in like 2 hours, test it out, and then run it again.
And before that, how would those parts be printed, and how long would it take?
Before that, we might need to send it out to a machine shop. Your turnaround time could be weeks.
Weeks?
So weeks, yeah, if you're sending it externally. But this is just way better. It's so
and I can see here you have 2 of these going right now, and this has nothing to do with Skycatch. I think you're building stuff for your Burning Man camp. Is that what's going on here?
I wish.
What are you building right now?
So
this looks very cool, this lattice type thing you're building.
Yeah, so it'll actually build up. This is going to be assembled into a camera mount. So,
a camera mount?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So if we're doing imagery at different angles, you can mount the camera at different angles and take pictures that way.
And these things are now 15 grand, 20 grand. They're really affordable.
Yeah.
And quick. Wow, just amazing. Where will this be in another 5 or 10 years?
I don't know, but I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
It'd be great if that could do like chocolate or something.
That might exist already, actually.
Yeah, the chocolate ones I think they do. I'm just saying like a big industrial chocolate one. I could do it really good. Okay, Fran, well, continued success with everything. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll see you next time.
Hey, everybody, welcome to This Week in Startups and Inside Drones. Yes, we've got a new podcast that we're doing. I'm hosting it, hopefully for just the first 10 episodes, and then we can find somebody who's even more passionate and knowledgeable about the drone industry. But we're trying to do a new podcast because the drone industry is so fascinating. Hopefully we'll do it maybe 26 times a year, every other week. And on it, we want to feature the people who are part of this drone revolution. And my gosh, I was looking at the funding statistics on AngelList and some other places, and we're collecting the data. And my God, there's a lot of people who have invested in these drone companies, and there's really a lot of creativity going into the monetization and the application of these. And on today's show, we've got a really interesting guest named Bryan Elliot, and he is the CEO and co-founder of PixiePath, and he's going to tell us all about his product. In the meantime, you can go to InsideDrones.com, and you can see the top 20 or so news stories of the day, and you can type Inside Drones into the App Store on iOS only right now, sorry, Android users, and you'll see our news app about Inside Drones, and there'll be links and everything to all the podcasts. I think we're on SoundCloud now. We'll have an iTunes podcast up soon enough, and you can follow Inside Drones on the Twitter. Of course, This Week in Startups, you know how to find that as well. So, PixiePath. Bryan, what is PixiePath? Tell us.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity today. Jason,
oh, yeah, of course.
So PixiePath, basically what we are doing at PixiePath is we are starting from the premise that if drones are connected to the cloud, what could you then do?
Okay.
So if we assume that, for the most part, people today are flying drones, they're nearby a drone, they've got a remote control in hand. Cloud connectivity is not really part of the standard equation out of the box for most of the drones that people are flying. If we assume, first of all, cloud connectivity, the question we ask is, what can we do?
Okay, so having an internet connection on the drone itself or the base station?
Or the base station, correct, in either case.
Now, how many of them, I see a lot of the drone base stations are actually iPhones.
Yes, iPhone or Android.
Or Android. So when you have a 3DR drone or something and it's on Android or on iOS, it's by default connected to the internet, isn't it?
It is.
Okay.
However, there's 2 things that are typically missing. One is any connectivity in the software to the cloud.
Ah, I see.
And then the other thing missing is anything in the cloud to listen for that connectivity.
Got it.
And do things with it.
Got it. So people have been very focused on keeping the drones from falling from the sky, making them stable and making them communicate and not lose the connection to the base station, the remote control in your hands.
Exactly right.
But getting from the base station, the remote control in your hands, back up to the internet, that's the work that's left to do that PixiePath is doing.
It's not just the work left to do, it's the vision left to craft. Like no one has really thought through what could we do once drones are connected to the cloud. What would
well,
the
you
future
have.
look like?
And what do you think the number one benefit of connecting your drone to the cloud is?
So our primary benefit is ingesting into the cloud all telemetry from the drones, all video from the drones,
got it,
sending commands back down to the drones, and that's sort of the prerequisite. And then the punchline is a development framework that lives in the cloud to say, what can I do in the cloud, assuming all these video inputs with extremely low latency, all these telemetry inputs, what can I do with that in real time? How can I archive it? How can I analyze it? And how can I distribute it to remote people as quickly as possible?
Okay, so what I'm getting here is eventually maybe there'll be a drone somewhere that will go on a mission and it'll fire up some sort of a notification to people, and then they'll be able to watch it go and maybe interact with it.
As a matter of fact, you're exactly right.
Okay, so let's try that right here live. I mean, now this is a little bit. I applaud you, by the way, for being willing to do a live demonstration. You're going to tell your person in the field right now to fire up their drone.
I'm going to do that.
Okay.
So
go ahead and do that.
First,
and
I'm going to send a text message real quick.
Okay, so we'll send a text message to your guy in the field. Where is he now? Is he in Golden Gate Park or something? Where is he?
They're down in San Diego.
Oh, in San Diego.
Yes.
Okay, so we're in San Francisco, by the way, everybody who's watching. So this is definitely a remote. And speaking of this, wow, now that you got me inspired thinking about this, if you're doing a remote like this, it really is like something that a newscast could use. Because if we were like the local news station and we had, let's say, drones in 10 locations in San Diego, the anchor could be looking, and the director of the local nightly news could have the 10 drones in 10 different locations.
Absolutely.
And be cutting to them in real time and controlling them from the news station.
So that's absolutely right. And we're actually, our cloud software is actually straddling a fine line between fully autonomous drones and drones that still require a pilot, but nonetheless adding cloud connectivity to a drone that's being manually piloted.
Is it legal right now? Because I know there's a lot of legal questions around drones. FAA is starting to really work on this, which seems good.
Right.
Is there a rule around if I had a drone on top of my house or my office and I was at a different location flying it remotely, i.e. through the cloud, is that allowed? Or I thought you had to have vision, primary line of sight.
It is not presently allowed in the United States.
Got it.
Despite the fact that the hardware is capable of doing this, and our cloud infrastructure is capable of letting you send those commands and watch what's happening.
Why not?
Why is it not legal in the United States?
Yeah, why do you think?
Because the FAA is being very careful in rolling out slightly relaxed guidelines over a long period of time.
And why are they doing that? Why are they conservative like this?
I think there's general fear of change and newness and potential danger on the part of most U.S. citizens. There's a disdain for these things flying in mass, or just the thought of it, and there's a real fear that reckless hobbyists or even commercial users might fly recklessly near an airport or interfere with perhaps a manned aircraft in some way.
Got it.
So we have to prove out all these things that
is that fair? Do you think? Do you think it's fair? Because we have seen instances of people doing stupid things with drones. People doing stupid things with drones is an entire genre.
People do stupid things with all kinds of new technology.
Cars.
Absolutely, cars, guns.
Segways.
Segways, everything.
Yeah.
I think the FAA is probably they're erring on the side of extreme caution.
Extreme caution.
Yes.
Not low caution, extreme caution.
I'm going to say extreme caution.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say it's totally unwarranted. I mean, we don't really know. But they have demonstrated a willingness to move forward. Many people are unsatisfied with that pace. But they have demonstrated a willingness to move forward. So what we'll see probably within a year is official guidelines for doing commercial using drones for commercial purposes that have some pretty strict restrictions, such as line of sight, as you said. There needs to be one pilot per drone, and it needs to be in line of sight at all time. It needs to be in daylight hours. But over time, maybe another year or two after that, you'll see that slightly loosened in different kinds of scenarios. ultimately towards a long-term vision that we can all hold, which would be something akin to like the Amazon Prime Air vision of delivery by drone.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is in fact the vision that inspired me to form PixiePath.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, that is an incredible vision. But what actually would a cloud platform look like that can actually orchestrate that? How could you actually pull that off?
Okay, so now is our drone flying yet, or
our
is he up and
drone is
running?
on the ground.
Okay.
And are you able to see? I'm not sure if you can
Let's
see.
see. We'll pull it up. Oh, we can certainly pull it up in here. Let's see if we have.
Let's
it
pull it up.
Yeah.
So we have a drone on the ground.
I see the drone on the ground. Okay, so this is the interface. Can we
Okay,
full
good.
screen that interface? Is that yours?
That is my laptop
Okay, yeah.
right
so
here.
just hit the green button in the top left, or go to View
yeah.
and
let's
go.
do it.
Yeah. There you go. Good. And then hit
let's
what's
see
that?
if we
Command plus.
Let's see.
2 more times.
I hope our fonts are going to be okay.
It'll be
here.
okay. 1 more time.
No, let's leave it right there.
Okay.
That's good enough.
All right. So here we go. This is in the cloud.
So this is in the cloud, and in
There's San
fact, this is a
Diego.
live view. And what you see is that with PixiePath, we have split different kinds of interactivity with the drones between what we'll call social or collaborative
Okay.
and what we call pilot controls.
Right. Social collaborative is moving the camera around,
Moving the camera around.
which has no impact on the flying of the drone.
Correct.
You can't crash it into something
Correct.
just moving the camera.
Correct.
And I see like this spot, so you can give it a thumbs up.
Well, in fact, like this spot does a couple of things interesting. Not only does it bookmark the spot, but it takes a high-res photo of that spot.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. Can we go back to the...
Yeah, let's go back to the interface.
Go back to,
for
okay,
sure.
thank you. Let's leave it there, folks. Thanks very much. And so what you see is a live view. You can see the wind, the breeze is blowing this umbrella here. We have a Google
It is
map
blowing it,
overlaid
yes.
on the right. Oh, they're on the roof of a building. That's funny. Okay.
Okay.
And I can do things, for example, by the way, the pilot controls, the typical remote user is not going to have pilot controls.
Right.
I have this up
You're a
here.
super user.
I have this to demonstrate that we can do all these things, but in fact, I'm not going to.
Right.
I'm going to
So,
leave it to the
but if we
pilot
were
to
in
do
another country, or if you were on a private island, you could do this.
Yes, absolutely right. Or even in the U.S., if you have special FAA exemption for whatever use case you have, which is possible to get.
It is possible.
It's a lot of red tape, but it's possible.
Yeah, you have to
It'll
fill out a
let
bunch
you
of
pass
forms.
it. So I'm going to click on camera down, and I should see the camera, the camera point
That's it.
down. in
Camera just went down a notch.
extremely
We're
low
now
latency.
looking at the deck of somebody's
I'm
backyard.
looking at I think they're on the roof of their building, actually.
Perfect.
I'm going to go click on camera forward, and I should see the camera point forward again.
Perfect.
Now, I want to, first of all, I'm going to shout out to the team I'm working with in San Diego. They're called Spark Aerial.
Okay.
They're a team of artists and videographers and mostly engineers who they're drone enthusiasts, and they're doing amazing things with drones, and they've been very generous in helping with today's
And I
demo.
can see you can chat there in the tabs. You can
Yes.
replay it.
So, for example, like a Meerkat or a or
yes,
a
the old
Periscope.
Twitter chat.
We have a Twitter chat for every single drone,
And you put a hashtag on it, I see there, with a unique identifier for this particular flight.
absolutely right for this drone.
Oh, for this
But
drone.
You're right. You're right.
Ah, so we can
Yep.
just see this drone's lifespan. Great.
Correct.
And then next to that is replay, so we can replay whatever happened here.
I'm actually going to go through some of these a little later. Right now, I'm going to have him fly,
Okay.
and
Can he hear us, or is he?
no,
we
he
have to
cannot.
text him.
I'm texting him.
Got it.
And I've just texted our friend Austin in San Diego to please fly, and we'll see.
And I see he's got 85% battery. Is that correct?
Yes, so
there?
we're actually getting live telemetry. We can see that it's landed, and we
Oh,
can
I see.
see
There we go.
85% battery.
All right, now we're
He's
starting
at
to
0
power
meters. Let me blow up a little bit on the Google map here. Oh, there he goes. Lovely.
up. Okay, so now he's flying.
Lovely. Okay.
And there's San Diego.
And just to be clear, I'm still in control of the camera. I'm going to point the camera down, and let's see if we can see our friend. I don't see him. That's okay.
Yep.
Let's go forward again.
See the city.
Camera forward. And now I'm going to click like this spot. And this takes around 10 seconds to complete. But basically, it's taking a high-res JPEG on the drone. It's
Right.
pulling the JPEG off the drone and then sending it to the cloud. For me.
Is that what that USB connecting thing is?
Yes,
Is that
it's within the drone.
within the drone.
Within
it
the drone
is
itself, yep.
turning off the camera for a second so that it can transfer that photo?
You're exactly right.
So he's got to, now that drone's got to transfer over, I guess, Wi-Fi down to the base station.
Correct.
That photo.
There he
and now
goes.
that photo, of course, would then be saved in the cloud
Now,
under spots and replay. Yeah.
Let's see what I got here. So I bookmarked this spot. This, I didn't name it yet, so it's given a random identifier.
Yep.
But here is the high-def photo I just took. And in fact, if I click this, I get a really nice high-def JPEG.
That's why it took a
4,000.
little while to send it down.
Yeah, 10 seconds or so, over LTE network. So this is over cell.
Well, so what's interesting about this is, like, let's say you were watching a live event, like a sporting event, and you had this drone flying. The entire audience could be sitting there taking their own pictures.
Absolutely right. They can be bookmarking spots. They
Yeah.
can be taking high-def photos. There's even the capability, once a spot has been created, and I have a list of spots I'll run through briefly in a couple minutes, we'll also be adding the capability to request that a pilot go back to the spot and say, I want an updated photo.
Got it.
Or maybe schedule, say, I want a photo of this spot once every day in the morning or something. Maybe it's looking at freeway traffic, or who knows what it's looking at, sunrise photo, whatever the case may be. So we're going to actually be doing a lot with this content over time. I'm going to tell, actually, I'm comfortable leaving it in the air because I'm actually watching the battery life from here, 75%.
Perfect. All right, so now you could, because you have the controls here, you could hit the west or the east key.
I could. So I could nudge it a few meters.
Okay, but if you did that,
he would go in a slight panic because I didn't warn him I was going to do that as part of the demo.
Got it.
But,
okay. And we would be breaking an FAA regulation, technically speaking.
You are absolutely right. That
so
is
we're
exactly,
not going
that's
to, just
exactly
in case
why
the
I'm
FAA
not
is
going to click
watching.
that button.
We don't want to record PixiePath breaking the FAA
Absolutely
regulations. That would be a big no-no.
Absolutely not. You're completely
But
right
now
about
is
that.
am I understanding correctly now that the FAA is starting to look at drone footage on YouTube, and then they intercepted and like called some people up and were like, hey, we saw your footage, this would technically be breaking the rules, and then they back down or something?
Well, so either, based upon YouTube footage, either you could be potentially either flying illegally in a place that you should not, or you're selling the footage and it wound up in a commercial or something. And those are both illegal.
Got it.
And so, I mean, it's not like the FAA is some massive police force that's looking at every YouTube video. I mean, they're very limited resources, but I have heard instances where they're looking at YouTube and looking at content that's been posted and saying, you really can't do this, or take this down, or stop selling
so it's like
your
a
wedding
gentle
photos.
nudge. They're not like, hey, the door's getting kicked in.
Yep.
They're saying like, hey, might not be in your best interest to do this.
Or there'll be minor fines.
All right, so now
Not jail time.
I went to see all the stuff Chris Anderson's doing at 3DR.
Yep.
And now he allows you to put you can obviously post your drone flight up on the cloud. He's got his own cloud service to track all the flights that his users do. What's different about that than what PixiePath is doing?
Good. So he's posting, actually I could walk through the app to show you a little bit more.
Yeah.
But basically, what their app currently is doing at 3DR is you're posting flight logs to show flight information and all the really internals of the drone. A lot of diagnostics and a lot of just showing the path that it flew. We're actually streaming video to the cloud in full fidelity, and we're actually recording all the video in the cloud. Not only are we recording all the video in the cloud.
So this is live is the big difference.
Live is the big difference, but I'm going to tell you a little bit.
And the control.
Live control and what we do with video and telemetry. I want to explain a key point. We are actually not only streaming all video to the cloud, but about once a second, we're interrupting the video stream and including the telemetry.
Got it.
So every frame of photo we record, we actually know the exact location of the drone. And when I replay, not only do I know exactly what the video was, but exactly where the drone was. Its angle, latitude, longitude, altitude, its angle, the camera angle,
And
all this can be recreated for any shot.
What is really fascinating about this is, sadly, we lost flight MH370, the Malaysian airline flight, right? And nobody seems to know where the hell that is. But we know where a drone is, down to like what rotor speed was occurring, right?
Yep.
We know all of these details. Why is it that in 2015 that a commercial airline with hundreds of people on it, we have less information about? And these drones, down to the propeller speed, where it is and into the cloud. Is it just because of the internet connectivity issues when you're at 30,000 feet? I mean, this makes no sense to me.
So
it's infuriating in a way.
It is. So commercial aircraft, like drones, they have really rich telemetry within the aircraft itself.
Right.
So clearly the aircraft knows all of its variables.
It knows the engine speed. It knows everything.
It knows the hum is going on or a buzz. It knows everything. And the commercial aircraft industry, like the drone industry, is still quite new to the concept of let's stream this to the cloud. Let's get it off the vehicle in real time.
Right.
And into the cloud in real time so that, we
know where the damn plane is.
Yes, we know where it is.
How about just knowing where it went down so you can collect the bodies? I mean,
clearly there's different constraints with the commercial aircraft. So it's at an altitude that most of our communications medium, like the cell phone, like the cell network, don't work. Clearly it's way out over the ocean. So the tools
Except now we have, if you can buy internet access on the plane for $30, Do you think the pilot and the airline can
they
afford
could
the
stream-
$30 to stream the goddamn black box off there? What is the holdup?
I can't argue that point. You're absolutely right. It is kind of mind-boggling.
It's mind-boggling. This is like when people talk about a startup being able to beat a big company. It's almost like this is a microcosm of it. It's like your little tiny company. I'm assuming
Yes.
you're under, the couple of 100,000 people who work in the aviation industry.
Yeah.
You might have slightly less than that.
Yeah.
And this like little band of rebels is able to like put everything in the cloud in 10 seconds or 10 weeks or whatever it took you to build this. And they can't get these things off the flights. It's unbelievable.
I mean, granted, what we've built here is somewhat less complex than a commercial aircraft. But you're right.
And they have slightly more resources and they have slightly
You're
more
right.
stake.
Well,
I mean, it doesn't make any sense. to me.
They're entrenched with. There's engineering specs that go into all the components that go into a commercial aircraft, and there's a lot of regulation in terms of upgrading them. The black box is probably one of the most sensitive pieces. Like, they can't be upgraded. You can't re-architect that just like a startup can re-architect.
You know
a
what you
website.
can do though? You just put a little dongle between the plug that goes in, and you just pick up everything going through, just like the NSA did.
And then send it through the GoGo wireless, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
you're
encrypt
right.
it and
You're
throw it
right.
to the GoGo wireless. I could literally get
can't
three
argue
guys.
that.
I could get 3 guys and gals together and do this in a weekend at a hackathon.
I can't argue that. You may in fact be right.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Because right now you have this issue of how long these things can stay in the air 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Let's just say 15-ish, yeah.
15. Kind of uninspiring.
For the prosumer ones.
For the prosumer ones.
Yep.
And the other ones run off of combustion engines can go for an hour or something?
I'm not sure that's illegal in the U.S. to have a combustible engine in the air. I'm not totally sure about that.
Yeah.
I could be incorrect, but I'm not expecting to see that really quick.
So when is the battery life ever going to get to something like more respectable, let's say?
It is.
30 minutes, 60 minutes?
I
And what is
absolutely
it going to
think so.
take? When and what has to happen? Is it some new battery technology has to come out, or you just have to get more efficient with the rotors? What's going to be the big breakthrough, or a little bit of everything?
I'm not going to claim to be a battery technology expert, but I'm going to speculate that, in fact, probably longer battery life is already there for people who are willing to either spend more for it or have the aircraft carry heavier weight. And I mean, I know that there are some just above the end of prosumer drones, maybe in the $2,000 to $3,000 range, or perhaps a little bit higher. They can stay in the air for 45 minutes to an hour.
Right.
I'm talking about the quadcopters.
Yeah.
I think it's doable. I think it's just not within the price range
Got it.
or weight range that people want in mass right now.
Now, which drones does your system work with right now? These 3DRs, I assume,
Yes,
because they're the
so-
most open?
So I would say yes. So PixiePath is currently compatible with DJI drones.
Oh,
Did you
not
say
3DR.
Not 3DR.
DJI.
DJI.
Because
yes.
DJI has an API.
DJI has a great SDK
Uh-huh.
for their line of drones, for the Phantom 2, for the Phantom 3, and for the Inspire 1.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very rich and sort of deep-cutting SDK that allows us to...
Software development kit for those
Yes.
people who don't know.
Yes. It allows us to access not only all the telemetry and not only control the drone, but we have full fidelity access to the camera.
Great.
And at the last time we looked carefully across the whole industry, which was around 6 months ago, DJI was the only vendor that had a really deep SDK in that way, that we could touch every subsystem.
Do you have a client for this yet? Is there somebody who's paying for this development who wants to use it?
So we have a marquee early adopter customer. I'm not going to name them at this time.
What's the
but
vertical they're in?
They are a global civil engineering firm. They do
Global civil
They do
engineering.
bridges, aqueducts, roads, that sort of thing.
Got it.
And they're interested in using PixiePath specifically for going to remote locations to inspect some large outdoor thing
Yep.
that they're responsible for, and they want to send just one pilot in the field and have he or she fly a drone, but we want to stream everything to the cloud so that a remote staff of engineers, and I'm talking about structural engineers,
Yeah.
they can, just as we've done for this demo, they can look at the feed in real time. They can bookmark different spots. They can say, I need a higher res JPEG of this.
So let's say the Brooklyn Bridge or the Williamsburg Bridge or the Manhattan Bridge, which are in a constant state of disrepair, just inspecting those in New York is a very time-consuming and expensive
Certainly.
thing. Now, you may have the people who are the expert engineers, maybe in Boston or something, or D.C. or who knows where. They could actually take the drones out, tell them, okay, go up and down, this cable. We're going to inspect all, whatever
Yes.
miles of cable. There's, 40 miles of cable in this thing. We're going to inspect both sides of every cable. We've got 80 miles of cable to inspect both sides. And then when they look through it in real time, they could say, you know what, we need to go back to cable 7 and 12.
Yes.
And we need to go really high res and slow.
Yes. So that exact scenario sort of gets to the whole back end enterprise cloud strategy that PixiePath has, which is to build that kind of application so that the entire workflow there, not just the pilot flying, but the whole workflow of managing the content, which is what are all the spots and locations that the engineers are interested
every
in.
Every rivet, every joint,
yes.
every whatever, brick.
And archiving all that video in a way that's accessible, letting the engineers request reshoots of different spots or different locations,
it's mind-blowing
when it's ready.
How this is such light speed ahead of what they would ever do. I mean, how would you inspect a skyscraper or a bridge previously as engineers?
Yes.
You could probably do this in a couple of days with drones, with high res.
Yes, you could.
Review everything in real time.
Either you're applying real-time analytics or you've got a staff reviewing it in real time, either one.
You could mechanical Turk it. I mean, you just literally take all the screenshots.
Look for cracks.
Yeah, basically just highlight, first pass, highlight any cracks you see on the bridge.
That's a great idea.
As, consumers, and then go from there to double down and inspect them.
It's a great idea.
And then eventually this would become, like Skycatch has these beautiful drone base stations. Right? Is anybody using those base stations where like they can go out and fly, come back, get the new batteries?
Lands and recharge. So Skycatch is doing very well. They've got a lot of customers who really appreciate what they've built. And they're a company that I hope to be talking to soon.
Yeah.
But
are they competitors with what you're doing or different?
Not really. So they're focusing
because they build the drones.
First of all, they build the drones, and we are very hardware agnostic. So
Yeah.
we'll work with any drone manufacturer. Loving DJI right now.
Right.
But and that will continue because they're doing great. But we would like to work with other manufacturers as well. We've talked to a few others and are sort of early on. And I would include Skycatch as one of the ones that we'd like to be talking to.
Got it.
Apart from the hardware side, the software side, they're working on a few verticals that they're cutting very deep, and we're more going broad on a cloud platform that allows you to build all kinds of applications. So I'll just throw something pie in the sky. Let's say that you're high up, you've got some kind of high up sponsorship relationship with Bonnaroo or Coachella, and you want to deploy, let's just say, 5 or 6 drones to do overhead selfies. So you load the Bonnaroo app on your iPhone if you're there just participating. You load the Bonnaroo app and you click a button that says, I want an overhead selfie, and post it to my Twitter feed right now. And they've got maybe 5 or 6 DJI Phantoms or something else on standby, ready to take orders from these people clicking this button. PixiePath is the kind of platform that would orchestrate choosing a drone, taking it off, flying overhead to that person, getting the JPEG, just as you saw me do already in the demo, and then posting it to their Twitter feed, and then going back and landing.
Wow.
So that's the kind of app that we want to make easy to build.
Yeah, if you were on a ski mountain, like you could then say, hey, I'm going to snowboard down the mountain. I'd like to have my video taken as a snowboarder.
And then waiting for me at the bottom like at the end of a Disneyland ride.
No, they're at the top and they follow me down the mountain.
Right, but
so
I mean
literally,
the video's waiting.
Oh, the video's waiting for you. Yeah,
like
they
at the
just
end of a
email it
ride
to
or
you. You
something.
just get this like incredible, instead of having, I mean, I think this is why the GoPro people are so on tilt about drones and supposedly are going to have their own drone, is because, wow, all those incredible action shots that they got by mounting these things are going to become 10 times more compelling when the drone's following you around down the mountain.
Absolutely right.
I mean, what would somebody pay to get like their ski run as they come down the mountain, looking like, something from the wild world of sports?
There's a fantastic vertical product there for every lift in the country, for every mountain in the country. I mean, that's a great idea.
Every mountain would have that, right? Yeah.
I mean, it's just a nice extra
So
revenue base.
photography, it seems like photography and like inspecting the railroad tracks are the two things that come up the most for drones.
Well, so there's so much to do just with video. Even before we get to non-video interesting things like delivery, even before we get to that, and we absolutely have our eyes on that for the long term. But even before that, there's so much to do just with video. So let's assume a city might have 18 different city parking lots along the beach and parks and everything, and they just want to make sure that at 5 o'clock there's no cars in the lot because the park technically closes at 5. Right. A small fleet of drones could be flying out and getting overhead shots of all of these different parks with great efficiency, pipe all that video to one place, and then one person in some central location is just reviewing all the JPEGs real quickly. Or maybe it's a mechanical Turk saying, make sure there's no cars in the lot.
I'm just waiting for when you're driving down the 280 and like a DJI comes whipping down, like pacing my Tesla and is like taking a video of me while I'm driving over the speed limit and making a video of it. Like,
is that a good thing, or I'm not sure?
No, I think this is an inevitability.
Yeah, you mean like a police drone, or do you mean just
it'd be
fun?
a police drone? Yeah, like why would you even have the police chasing people down the road to give them a ticket when you could just literally fly down, go right past their windshield, get a video of them on their cell phone doing 90?
I have to admit, it's a possible outcome.
It's dystopian.
We may get there. It is dystopian, but if you want to flip, so you want to flip that 90 degrees, that dystopian vision, flip it 90 degrees, look at a platform like PixiePath for something a lot more along the lines of citizen journalism.
Sure.
Where any number of people might have their drone, it's available to be taken off, and someone, you might sign on to PixiePath and say, there's something really important happening at this street downtown. There's a lot of activity. I don't know what's going on. Can anybody fly their drone there and get some footage now? And it might facilitate connecting to a few pilots to say, oh, yes, mine's got the battery. I'm in range.
Yeah, we had a company pitch us at one of the Ask Jason episodes on the show, a reverse periscope, I called it, which was you could ask somebody, anybody who joined this company, and Emmy Award-winning producer Jackie will tell me the name of it. I forgot. They just came into the office. Anybody who's running the app, you could request that they go somewhere and take a video or a photo. So if you're like, you know what? I want to see a video or a photo of what's going on at the Warriors parade in Oakland, or I want to see what's going on at this beach.
Yep.
What's the surf like? Or I want to see what's going on at the Phil's Coffee. Make me a video.
Or I want to see the traffic on the 280 or something.
Yeah, whatever it is, something. Nobody can really come up with good examples though, because for all of those, I would think like a stationary camera would be better. Yeah, but anyway, you could send these fleets of journalists out to do stuff. Okay, so you are how many people in your company?
Very small. So I'm founder.
Yep.
I'm the chief architect, and I have 2 or 3 contractors working with me.
So you are
I'm
really
early
super
on.
seed row.
Early on.
Yeah.
Very early.
What is the reaction been in the investment community to these small drone startups? Do venture capitalists get it yet? Are they looking at DJI and going?
No, there's plenty of VCs and angels who first of all, there are plenty who are very skeptical, clearly.
Majority.
And there are plenty
Kind of
who
their
actually
job.
get the drone space. Plenty who see the hype rising and also are confident that there's a there, as someone once told me recently.
Yeah.
That there are a number of efficiencies to be gained through drones, whether it's in whether it's agriculture, or construction and surveying, and then to the more greenfield applications that people haven't even thought of yet, like citizen journalism, delivery, this sort of thing. There's quite an optimism that there's a lot of efficiencies to be gained. And from my standpoint, anything that gets even a tiny fraction of cars off the road to do some things like delivery or whatever the case may be, it's a benefit for everybody.
How did you get into the drone stuff? What's your background? Were you?
So, great question. So my background principally is in building machine-to-cloud platforms. So this is actually my third. In fact, the second platform I built, this is going back 3 or 4 years, was an IP camera platform where we worked with a Taiwanese manufacturer of IP cameras that they just mount on the wall, basically.
Yep.
And they had a nice little SDK for accessing the camera, but really no cloud soul at all within the camera. And so my company, we envisioned what would a cloud soul look like for these IP cameras. And we built that and had a successful exit there. The drone space, apart from being fun and interesting and new, technically actually looked quite similar to me.
Yeah, just a moving camera.
We have cameras. These ones happen to have propellers and they're in the air.
Yeah.
But these are cameras with a nice rich SDK, no real cloud soul. And so the question is, what would it take to build a cloud platform that these things can communicate to in mass, and then what would we do once they're all connected? So it's a pattern I saw that was very similar to a past solution I built.
Yeah. And what about delivery? I mean, how far do you think that is? I mean, I've talked to a bunch of people on the show who have, like varying degrees of predictions about this. Sooner than we think, never. Being the two.
So who really knows? But I can tell you, the hard data point I have is that the FAA is, of course, being very cautious, and I'm being generous with that word. They're being very cautious. I think that urban delivery by drone in the United States is, I think probably, I'm going to guess 4 or 5 years away.
Really?
That's my guess. Yeah, and that's my guess.
How do they drop something off at your apartment or house? How do you think that's going to work? Yeah, technically.
Great question. So one of the things that we'll end up building with PixiePath, which may or may not feed into what Amazon's doing. They might have a different vision. But we actually, so I showed you in the app before, I showed you the concept of spots. Yeah. Different spots for different things. I want you to be able to take your smartphone and just walk outside to your lawn and stand in the middle of your yard, if you have a yard, or on your roof if you're in a city, and say, I'm going to create a spot right here where my phone is. Not where my drone is, but where my phone is.
Right.
That spot goes into the system and is now an addressable bookmarked location that we can send
drones to.
It's a helipad. It's like a helipad or virtual helipad.
Tiny one.
Virtual helipad.
I was hoping they would send us each like a blanket with a helipad on it, like with the big letter D, and we
Maybe
just
with a
lay the
logo or
blanket on
something.
the backyard, and like the
It's
drone
got
lands
some
on the
logo
blanket.
or something on it.
Something
It
like that,
looks
some
for it.
LEDs maybe. It would just be cool. It'd be cool if we could have like a little mini landing strip.
Well, so landing in a precision way will be some combination of GPS and probably visually assisted, like you just said. So GPS will get it really close.
Or not land, and then just drop like by a
Yeah,
cable.
by a tether, by a
By
cable. That's a
tether.
clever idea.
Yeah, somebody had mentioned that to
I
me
think that was
that-
Google who's doing that.
Oh, is that how they're
if I'm
doing? They're
not
doing
mistaken.
tether? Yeah.
Yeah, very clever.
Yeah, just like we don't need to land. We're just going to hover,
Just drop the thing down or slowly
drop
lower
it,
the
slowly
thing down.
lower the thing,
Yeah.
and we'll know when the tether has extra slack on it that it's
Yeah.
landed. And
So what I love
unbutton it.
about that is that all the innovation happening at the hardware level, including things like the tethered delivery,
Yeah.
as well as battery life and precision location and obstacle avoidance, everything that's happening at the hardware level that great companies like 3D Robotics and DJI and Sci-Fi Works and all these other companies are doing, they're all complementary to what PixiePath is doing. So we love the innovation happening at the hardware level, new concepts in dropping a payload or better safety, whatever it is. We just want to build a great cloud platform that harnesses them en masse.
And what about the LiDAR issues and the like avoidance technology? That seems to be the piece that might take a little bit more time. Like we figured out how to land them and not crash them.
Yes.
And it's not your job to keep the thing in the air anymore, right? The thing stays in the air itself.
Correct.
You don't have to like, check the trim like you used to. and all that
No,
stuff.
certainly not in a cloud service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even in the new
onboard.
DJI ones and the new 3DR drones, if you hit the down button, or if you go left and right, it just interprets what left and right means. It doesn't like change the blade speed or, you can't crash them by just hitting the down button anymore.
No.
Which you used to be able
It's
to
like,
do.
It's like electronic steering in a car.
Right.
When you turn the wheel, you're not literally turning the wheels anymore.
No.
It's going through a computer and it's interpreting.
Right. So if you do it too hard in a car, or if you slam on your brakes too hard, it's like
It knows.
we know you're slamming on your brakes too hard and you're
Yeah.
scared, but we're going to do ABS and just pat the brakes because that's the better thing. You
Yeah,
don't have to
exactly
pump the
right.
brakes yourself.
Yeah.
But what about avoiding things? Because right now you can take a drone and you can slam it into a wall or a person going full speed at 30 miles an hour.
Yes.
When is it going to be that when I try to full speed plow into something on accident or purpose,
Yeah.
the drone's like, not going to let you do that because I
think-
see there's something in front of you.
I think the guys are close. I think the guys at 3DR are doing great work. I think the guys at DJI are doing great work. I think probably a year from now, their models will have the first version of obstacle avoidance, which will be very good and impressive. And probably 2 years from now, incredibly good and impressive.
That's going to be amazing when you could just throw one of these things in the air and give it to a 6-year-old child and let them fly it around, and they're in the backyard, and they try to slam them into each other, and it's like...
Or a tree or
beep,
a
beep,
wall.
Beep,
Yeah.
beep, and just like,
Not gonna let
sorry,
do
you
that.
can't do that.
Yeah.
They're like, damn it, I want to crash our drones together.
Well, fortunately, like I said, I think they're advancing at a rapid pace, and that's going to be a prerequisite before the FAA really loosens their
Yeah.
chokehold on the space.
I think it's going to be very interesting. I think drones will be safer before cars.
I can well imagine that.
Like
Yeah.
cars,
Yeah,
you're
right.
going to be able to slam into the back of a car. It's going to happen 20 times
You've got to
a
change
day.
the whole paradigm. You got to go to driverless cars before they become an order
Right.
of magnitude.
But
safer.
even if they weren't driverless, if they just had the auto not ram into each other feature, where it was like no matter
Yeah.
how hard you try, in 5-foot traffic, which like the Volvo car has this.
Yeah.
If you try to roll into another car with a Volvo at 10 miles an hour, just very lightly, it stops you.
Does it?
Yeah, the Volvo just has automatic
that.
braking. So
Good.
if you are on your phone texting or eating your bagel,
Yep.
and you are not paying attention and you're at a stoplight, you can't roll into the car in front of you. It just beeps and stops.
Yeah.
Not all cars have that,
No.
but the drones are going to all have that.
The drones will all have that. You may even find that that's mandated. So the FAA is probably going to mandate geofencing
Yeah.
to keep drones out of airport zones and other prohibited zones. I would not be surprised if they end up mandating obstacle avoidance, at least some base level as well.
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah. Well, they don't necessarily have to, but I can well imagine it.
Yeah. And I think the drone operators are getting more responsible. There has to be some penalty if you do stupid stuff with drones, doesn't there?
Well, people do stupid stuff with a lot of things in this country, unfortunately.
This is where I think like the drone industry has to step up a little bit. Is I think they're giving a little bit of a pass to the pilots. Like I don't think it necessarily has to be a license, but there might need to be a license for a drone that goes above a certain height or a certain speed or a certain weight. So maybe like Class A drones are under this amount of weight, under this height, 200 feet.
So you're looking at
12 miles an hour, just like motorcycles are. Like you need a different license for.
Yeah, you're actually you're talking in line with what the FAA is likely to be introducing. They've introduced it now in draft form, and they'll probably finalize next summer.
Yeah.
So for commercial use, and hopefully they converge commercial and recreational use, because these are like two different tracks with the FAA right now.
Yeah.
And
it's bizarre because if you think about it, like it would be like taking photography and being like, well, if you're using an SLR where you take the lens off, you're a professional. But if you're using your iPhone, you're not a professional. It's like, well, the iPhone now takes better photos than the old SLRs. So what are we even talking about here? Prosumer.
It's a little schizophrenic. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I hope they converge it into one understandable thing. Because from my standpoint, building a product that appeals to both consumers and hobbyists as well as professional, we look at it as the same community. It's a funnel. So all the hobbyists who are using PixiePath, they're a funnel into commercial use, because they're the ones they're going to get the ideas and they're going to bring it to their company.
I think eventually it's going to be a license thing. That's my prediction. I know that a lot of people in the drone industry hate when I say this, but I do think it's going to become licensing, like a driver's license, because flying these things over people's heads, it's inevitable that somebody's going to get really hurt.
I think you're right. And when you think about it, it's frankly not that hard to get a driver's license. It's not really that hard.
I mean, so people are like, I want you to be able to buy it and then take it out. It's like, can you do that with a motorcycle?
So you break the Christmas unboxing experience. So what?
It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I don't think
you
so.
know, like I think for the small ones that fit in your hand and can go, 50 feet up, they're going to be the ones that no license necessary.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, when I see this guy over at Dolores Park with his DJI Phantom 3 and he's flying 200 feet over the kids' park, and my daughter's playing there, it's like not a great feeling. And I'm like, where is this guy? Because I'm going to punch him in the head. Like,
yeah, because
really,
you know where the pilot is.
I'm trying to find the pilot. I was literally going to smack this kid because I was like, are you seriously flying, whatever it is, a 4 or 5 pound drone, 250 feet in the air above a children's park?
Yeah,
like,
not cool.
Not cool, dude. Like, where are you?
So here's a prediction for me.
I couldn't find the guy.
So here's a prediction from me. So before too long, with companies like PixiePath and a few others who might try to enter the space, you should be able to pull out your iPhone. You should be able to say, Siri, whose drone is that overhead?
Yeah, that would be pretty good. Yeah, like to identify them.
Yeah.
Yeah, just you have to have a unique identifier of them.
Correct.
Because right now, if you were doing that with a helicopter or a plane, you would be able to identify it.
Yes.
They have their own identification.
And for a drone, not currently. But
they don't have their own unique MAC address signal or anything that's beaconing constantly?
So companies like mine are pushing in that direction to say, look, let's put
that would be a nice compromise.
Let's put a real identity infrastructure in place,
for sure,
so that we understand whose drone this is, who's the pilot,
right?
What kind of are they allowed to be here or not? Who can I report to if there's a problem?
Yeah, just whose is this? If it falls out of the sky, whose is it? Who's responsible?
I don't have any problem with that at all. I mean, accountability and transparency is going to make this trustworthy.
Here's a great irony: we're going to have basically the ability to identify every drone before we identify every gun in the country.
Well,
just think about how insane that is.
It's insane.
It's a paradox.
Yeah. So I think you and I are on the same side of that debate.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you could literally know. There's a million ways to put a signature on a bullet and a gun, and nope, not possible. But the drones will know exactly where they are.
Well, we'll
cloud services.
I mean, so the high-tech industry will self-regulate and do the right thing up front.
Right.
We'll try to.
It's so the way to go.
Yeah.
All right, listen, this has been amazing. Continued success to PixiePath. Everybody go check out PixiePath on Twitter. And they're PixiePath.com as well. And Bryan is Bryan Elliot, 1970. Is that when you were born?
Correct.
Me too.
I know that about you.
November.
April.
All right, there you go. 1970.
It was a good year. I was actually born.
Do you remember the bicentennial?
The quarter?
Bicentennial, 200 years.
Of course.
1976.
I just remember the quarter.
Oh,
I was 6.
I was 6. I remember going to
the quarter was the cool thing.
It's actually literally my earliest memory is going to the under the Verrazano Bridge in Brooklyn. We had a parade of like a flotilla, like just every boat in the country came there. All these old boats. 200th birthday of America.
So I don't remember any celebration. I just remember the quarters were different that year.
Yeah,
that was the cool part for me.
Yeah. All right,
Jason, thanks so much.
Yeah, it was
really
my pleasure.
Appreciate
Thanks, Bryan Elliot, for coming out, and we'll see you next time on This Week in Startups or Inside Drones.
Correct.
Bye.